I've integrated the CTI mentality into the entire security operation team.
Hello and welcome to episode 17, season 1 of your Cyber Threat Intelligence podcast. Whether you're a seasoned CTI expert, a cybersecurity professional, or simply curious about the digital battlefield, our expert guests and host will break down complex topics into actionable insights. On this episode of Season 1, our host Pedro Kertzman will chat with Dr. Nestor Dahj, who has over 8 years of experience in information security and data science, engaging with various cyber units, including law enforcement, forensic teams, and red team engineers. A threat intelligence engineer, researcher, and author of the book Mastering Cyber Intelligence. He is currently the head of cybersecurity and intelligence in a fast-growing South African telecommunications company. Over to you, Pedro.
Jean, thank you so much for coming to the show. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you very much, Pedro. And I think the pleasure is shared. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be an awesome conversation. And usually I start asking the guests about their journey into CTI. Would you mind walking us through that, please?
Yes, definitely. Cybersecurity in general has always been more than a job to me. It's a purpose. I consider it as a passion. Mm-hmm. And over the past 9 years, I've engaged with a lot of units in different security disciplines. I've worked with forensics agents. I've worked with law enforcement. I've worked with red teamers as well. All the knowledge collected through these years exposed me to CTI to understand more about threat intelligence because it showed, because I was providing a lot of evidence to these people, and it made me understand really how cyber criminals work, what they do, how they do their things, what are their intentions, and so on. So that's really pushed me toward threat intelligence. And since I have a very strong data science background and I'm used to navigating data, curating data, finding patterns in data. So it's made the transition a little bit smoother, like trying to understand the vast data that we used to collect. Because I was working for a probing company, the network probing company that used to collect a lot of network information, transactions, like raw network traffic. So by using data analytics techniques, you find a lot of information and patterns in data, making data useful. So that also escalated my passion, or made my passion for CTI much more aggressive, I would say. And on top of that, as a researcher, because I hold a PhD in electrical engineering as well. So as a researcher, I dive a lot into how things are done. So I've been researching a lot in the security space and engineering, space communication, and I also wrote a book. I wrote one of the most comprehensive books on CTI, and currently I'm heading a whole cybersecurity department in a tier 1 company in South Africa, so which is exposing me more in the things that I like to do, exploring more and more. And CTI is a journey, so you don't reach the summit. You continue learning. We keep on learning. So more or less that is my journey, how I started as a network engineer and then transitions to probing, which exposed me to that analytics and data science, which, because I was interacting with different business units, including cybersecurity, forensics, then I got a passion for the field, and it has continued like that until today.
That's awesome. And you mentioned the book, right? It's Mastering Cyber Intelligence. And I'll make sure I'll include a link on the description of the episode as well for everybody wanting to check more. Can we maybe just talk a little bit more about the book? Some of the insights. I know roughly the book life cycle of CTI requirements, things around that. Then goes down to analytical and modeling and integrating CTI, like you were mentioning, into businesses, right? The business processes and all that. Can you maybe talk a little bit about the part 1, per se, like the CTI tradecraft? What was the thing or any things that during your research to the book that like caught your attention, that you enjoyed the most writing about? Anything like that?
It's it's very interesting. Writing the book was a very good journey. It was a journey because most of the time people are focused on the technical part of threat intelligence, and they forget a lot of things that are like prerequisite for a good threat intelligence analyst. Threat intelligence is it's not just cybersecurity. It's a merging of many fields, including data science, data analytics, well, cybersecurity, of course, but a little bit of soft skills like psychological skills and analytical skills. That's why before, threat intelligence used to be applied mostly in military. Like in the military space, it has been used a lot. Like it's not most recently, but only a few decades ago that it has been now being migrated slowly and surely into the corporate world. And what actually set threat intelligence analysts apart is not just the technical ability, but it also the thinking ability. Like if you look at the tradecraft that I described in the book, like when you have the outcome of a CTI report, you don't just consume it like that. You analyze it, you question it. And how do you question it in such a way that you are not biased toward the result? We've seen it many times. I'm not going to get into geopolitics, but we've seen many times where intelligence report comes in, they tell you that a specific country has like nuclear weapons, and people don't really vet it enough. They don't push it back, question it, like push it to make them convince you that the intelligence is true and we can actions on it. And that's the part that's one of the parts that I enjoy a lot, because practically I think I've been doing at my work, but maybe not knowing what it was, but writing the book, getting deep down into what is needed, the different ways of analyzing threat intelligence reports. Like how do you question it? How do you present it to the executive team? And all that, it was really a very important step for me. And my book is very comprehensive in such a way that it does not only tell you the practical part, but it also gives you the theoretical knowledge, like how do you get the requirement, and how do you analyze the output? How can you make the analysis more effective? The different types of analytical method. And as I was researching, you find out that this method are being used by actual like intelligence services into assessing reports that come, which is really, really great. Yeah. But for the rest of the details, I think the book can be acquired on Amazon. And yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. You're mentioning about a few times about how you brought that knowledge into your current role. How would you say like companies in general, not necessarily from sector A, B, or C, but companies in general could leverage CTI to improve the overall company security posture?
Yes, that's a very, very important question, because most of the companies are trying to leverage CTI, and we have to at the end of the day, but we need to understand why is it important? What are the benefits that we get from it? So I will talk about how like the practical ways that company can do that. But first we need to understand, what does CTI do? How does it improve your an organization's security posture in general? So let's take an example today. You have, first of all, you're not going to be able to defend the company alone. No company can defend itself alone. You need collaboration, right? Let's look at the different ways that CTI can improve a company security posture. So if you have a threat intelligence feed, right, and then you find out that there is a specific threat that has been discovered in another part of the world in a company of a similar industry as yours. You get an IOC, you can get it can be a C2 IP, it can be a file, a malware, or whatever it is. You have that in advance, even though the breach has not happened to you. But by having that, you can actually start searching your logs, or start tuning your security devices to detect and block those IOCs, in those indicators of compromise before the breach happened to you. So it brings you that type of proactive defense, And second, in terms of risks, and most of the companies who have security tools, they know we get thousands of alerts that comes from various sources, and like CM Solutions, for example, you have a lot of alerts. So you need a way to prioritize the risk so that your SOC team does not get trapped into a lot of low-level IOCs looking for IPs and things like that. So CTI can actually help you prioritize your risk. Let's take an example. I was discussing with one of my guys in my team. Let's say you have a rule that detects data exfiltration, right? We know that data exfiltration is one of the ways hackers use to take data out of your network to some way. But you can also have data exfiltration between internal assets, from one asset to another asset. And you can also have data exfiltration from your organization to another trusted organization. But now it's the same alerts. You get potential data exfiltration alerts. But now CTI can make a big difference here if the destination where the data is going is malicious or has been detected or found in a threat intelligence feed. And automatically you prioritize that data exfiltration compared to any other exfiltration. You see, so with CTI, you can actually prioritize your risks, which is very, very key to responding to cyber attacks. And CTI for sure also help you harden your security devices like firewalls, IDSs, and IPSs. You have all these low-level IOCs that you can always feed to those tools to be blocked, detected, etc. So, and most importantly, especially, cybersecurity is an area where it's very difficult to justify the return on investment to the board, because we are not in a revenue generation type of department compared to other departments. So we take more money than we give. However, we do protect, assets, we do protect the company from cyber breaches. But executive teams, board members, they don't understand IOCs. They don't understand this. They want you to tell them why they should invest on something specific. And using threat intel with good context, you can actually sell a story to the board so that you can invest on the right tool or the right security solutions. So those are some of the benefits that you can get from leveraging CTI in your organization. So it's really helped you improve your security posture. That's one thing. So now, how can company practically use CTI in the so the adoption of CTI is always a very big question. How do you start? How do you get, while most of the people always start with threat intelligence feed, like yes, which is a good thing. They will get a feed, get IOCs and all of the things, but integrating CTI in the company is more than just that. I will give an example. You start with trying to understand exactly what you want to protect, right? Let's say those are the prerequisites. Those are the basics to start. You cannot adopt CTI out of the blue. CTI is comes after you have already done some of the prerequisites. For example, you have a centralized logging system. You have data that internal data that you are feeding to your log to your CM. You have logs, endpoint logs. You have server logs. You have application logs. You have access logs. All the logs are coming together. Even if you have NDR, you can also have packet logs that are going to your CM solution. That's a prerequisite because that's where you're going to be looking for information. So once you have that, the next thing that you have to do is now understand ask yourself, what do I want to protect from that? What do I have to protect? What do we do that hackers may be after? Who may want this information? And in a very simple way, I'll try to be more practical such that to help also companies to adopt that. Once you have, then you can start with things like open source feed or open source TI feed. So there are a lot of open source TI feed that you can start with. You can start with Alien Vault, your VirusTotal APIs, and all that. You take all those ones. If you have money, well, you can go for commercial feed as well. That is okay.
Yeah.
But if you don't have money, you can still leverage CTI with less effort. So if you get those feed, the most important thing is to curate your data. Make sure that your data is curated, it's correct. Because if you take garbage or data that does not help you, you're not gonna get value out of your CTI program. So once you get those data, okay, it's curated data. You have a bunch of IOCs, context, threat actors, etc. You try to put that together, like integrate that with your security tools, which is very important, very, very essential. Because anyway, today, most of the security tools anyway, like CMs, NDRs, and IDS, IPSs, they have integrations with threat intelligence feeds, maybe through APIs or through sticks or taxis, to get all the contextual data. You integrate your tools or integrate those CTI feeds with your tool. That will bring context to your data or your CM data or your NDR data. Very simple. For example, and you can see if you see an indicator of compromise, like an IP address that has been flagged. If you have a threat intelligence feed, it can tell you that this IP has been seen somewhere, and then you can contextualize it and see which threat actor has been behind that IP, and then dig deeper to find out, okay, what are the techniques, and procedures used by such threat actors, which brings context into your data. And you can also include it into your incident response team. Like what I usually do is, if I get an alert and I have specific IOCs in there, first thing that I do, if a TI feed is not integrated, I just take that IP or that hash file or whatever it is, put it on VirusTotal, right? You put it on VirusTotal and see if it's malicious. Put it on AbuseCH. Check put it on Alien Vault and see if there is any pulse that has been reported on such IOC. So these are simple techniques that you use to integrate TI in an easy way, but I know it takes more than that, but this helps you as a starting point. Yeah.
That's really good. Thank you. I think you touched on very important points. Maybe to stitch a few of them together. You also mentioned, for example, selling the value to decision makers, to the board, so on and so forth, but also making sure you are properly analyzing risk and giving them which ones should be the priority. So I think, from an overall CTI standpoint, it would be fair to think on the whole CTI value chain or structure on a pyramid way, where in the bottom, like you're mentioning, you're going to have a lot of information, feeds, logs, but then you have to start pulling the most valuable information out of it and starting decreasing the size of the pyramid, going to the top with less detailed or technical information and more valuable risk-related information up until the top of the pyramid to the board or something like that.
Correct.
Otherwise, they will just, scare you away because you're talking about TTPs and IOCs and hash values, and they don't want to do that. They want to risk, yes, likelihood, and things that they will understand and make a decision based on that.
100%. That's why, okay, it's not to anticipate, but that's why you see how you present your CTI is very important. You have to understand the audience, right? Things like IOCs and domains and hash and so whatever we have talked about, you're not going to present that to an executive team, right? To the strategic team. You're not going to present that. So what you're going to present to the SOC team, for example, is different from what you're going to present to, let's say, your operational team, your tactical team, sorry, for example, your red, blue team, purple team. What you're going to give them is completely different from what you're going to give to the SOC team, and what you're going to give to both to the two is different from what you're going to give to the strategic team as well. Yeah,
that's perfect.
So you're right. It's very important to understand the audience and how you phrase it, how you put it together so that it can carry more value.
That's perfect. And any best practices you're working currently, maybe on your current employer, how to implement such CTI best practices?
Best practices, there are a lot of guidelines out there that gives best practices, but I always like going in a practical way. So best practice is always to make sure that you getting the correct information.
Okay.
Right, because today you're gonna get a lot of threat intelligence feeds. Some of them are open source, others are commercial. But getting the right feed will show more value on your CTI program or your CTI project, for example. Understand your industry. Don't get feeds from industry that are not related to you. You see. And also in terms of analytics, right? So I always make sure that you are able to analyze the data. You have the right knowledge to do that. So one of the best practices also investing in people, because I know that's what people will expect the less, but best practice of CTI is investing on people as well, because at the end of the day you can automate many things, but you need human expertise to analyze the data and get some value out of it and report it back to different business operations. So that's the same method that I use in the company. So the truth is, I don't have a dedicated CTI team in my organization, like a dedicated CTI team. No. So, but the strategy that I've used is I've integrated the CTI mentality into the entire security operation team.
Love it.
Everyone thinks like a threat intelligence analyst, even if you're a SOC. Even my red, blue team, purple team. So if you want to do a pen test, you have to let me know. For example, how is your pen test gonna help the company? I don't just want you to run a metasploit and then you try to compromise. No, look at the meter attack framework, for example. Look at one or two threat actors that are targeting our industry. Look at the methods that they are using to compromise. Look at the different malware they've used. Now ask yourself, can you emulate that? Can you use such approach to test our defense? And then the same way, get the blue team to also invest in that. Look at the framework, look at some techniques that are there, right? And then evaluate our defense. Are we able to defend against that? That's very important. And those are the best practices that you're gonna use to get most value out of your CTI program. And most importantly, you need to measure the effectiveness of your CTI if you want to continue that way. For example, you can define some basic metrics that you can use to evaluate or assess your program. Just look at, and if you go out there, you'll see books with a lot of nice metrics, yes, but some of those metrics are not straightforward to understand and very difficult to implement. You can start with basic metrics. Just look at, out of all the incidents or all the threat detected, how many did you detect because of your CTI feed? How many IPs did you block because of your CTI feed? It's very simple, because now things like firewalls, EDRs, they will tell you why they are blocking a specific activity. They will tell you this domain has been flagged as malicious. Why? They will tell you. And those are some of the best practices that you use to get more value out of your CTI program.
That's very cool. I really like how you put it, that you don't have necessarily a dedicated CTI team, but the CTI mindset or frameworks are going across the teams that you have, and everybody kind of needs to have that in mind to bring extra value from their day-to-day cybersecurity related activities. That's really interesting. And you mentioned in the beginning as well to evaluate the quality of the data you're receiving and all that. Maybe, from your experience, either researching on the book or practical experience on your work, the one I see the most to evaluate the data sources and reliability of data sources is the Admiralty code that also is used by NATO. Any other frameworks to analyze that you bumped into, or any other experiences evaluating data sources?
Well, that's a very good question. So first of all, I'd say there's no standard. Maybe I'm not aware of, but there's no standard way that gives you the playbook on how to evaluate a CTI data source, right? Because most of the threat feeds will always tell you that the data has been assessed, they are correct, they get updated, but it's up to your internal team as well to do the due diligence. Like, first of all, when you look at the feed, the description, do they give you what you're looking for? That's why you have to know what you're looking for. Do they give you what you're looking for? Are they reporting IOCs only? Are they giving context on what they're reporting? Are they linking it to threat actor profiles and reports? Are they mapping the data to the meter attack frameworks, for example? So you have to evaluate, how often do they update the IOCs? Because remember, while we are on the topic of IOCs are the lowest level of a CTI program. They are very important, but they are not everything in terms of CTI, because IOCs are short-lived. They're short-lived. They can change every time. So you have to, when you evaluate your data source, you also try to ask how often do they update the IOC databases, the threat actor databases, and all that, and how much effort do they put on research and analysis of new malware and things like that. That's very, very important. So I'm not going to go through all the details, but those are the basics that you have to look at, because that's going to be important. If you invest in threat sources that are not updated constantly, then your intelligence will be lagging and you'll be getting hit by something that has already been reported by very good sources, and because your source did not update on time, and then you get breached. It's like that. So those are the method that I use. Specifically, I don't use a specific framework to analyze the threat feeds, but I use some data science techniques. The same way we do to clean data and then see like engineer the data properly. That's almost the same concept that I use with threat intelligence feed. I ask questions, I look, I vet it, how true it is, where they come from, how much time do they give on reports, how often they update the databases, and how much context do I get from the feed. Do I just get a bunch of IOCs, or do I get context behind those IOCs? So yeah, those are the practices that I use.
That's very interesting, combining data science to the IOCs and CTI as well. That's very interesting. Thank you.
No, that's true. I strongly, I just not to cut you, Pedro. I strongly believe that honestly, the best threat intelligence analyst would be the data scientist or the data analyst.
That's nice. I mean, if you're handling a large amount of or a large volume of information, it does make sense, right? Somebody
Yes.
that can go through that data first with analytical eyes to make judgment of it and starting funneling, what's the best information, how to handle it, go to the next step, and so on. It does make sense. That's a very interesting take. Thank you.
And
Obviously, we're exposed to data feeds day in, day out, threat reports, so on and so forth. But when it comes to learning more things about the industry, the CTI industry itself, like new trends, how people are doing CTI now, or what's the new role for the analysts going to look like in the next, 5 years or anything like that. What are your favorite quote-unquote data sources for this extra information about the CTI industry?
oof, favorite. That's a strong word. Favorite. I don't think I have a favorite, but I'll just say I like digging almost everywhere. From books to online courses and forums. And as a researcher, like I read a lot of papers, like security papers, journals, and things like that. But I would say, especially for people who are trying to, to jump into the industry in the CTI world, it's important to give a little bit of a structured way, not just for me, because I know that for me, I still continue learning about it. Like sometimes, I do a lot of research. I read books that are out there. Like you can just go to Google and check the number of CTI books that are there. There are a lot, and you go to Udemy now. You got a lot of platforms like Udemy. You get a lot of videos, and you have certifications. But for people who are trying to jump into the CTI world, so especially for beginners, what I always advise is you start with the meter attack, for example. If you open the meter attack framework, that's my friends of every day, literally.
Oh yeah.
Every single day I open the meter attack. Like if you can start there, learn about the different tactics, techniques, procedures that are there. Because I assume that if you want to jump into CTI, it means you have some basics of cybersecurity, right? So which means if you look at the meter attack, you understand a lot in terms of tactics that are there, techniques that are there, procedures that are there. And the most important thing is that framework also tells you, if you want to jump into CTI, it means you have some basics of cybersecurity, right? So which means if you look at the meter attack, you understand a lot in terms of tactics that are there, techniques that are there, procedures that are there. And the most important thing is that framework also tells you, which threat actors are linked to such TTPs, and it also tells you some of the techniques that are there. Actually, you can see how to implement rules on CM and IDSs, IPS, or security tools to detect such attack. So start there, and then if you want to use open source CTI tools, like it's better to learn while you are practicing as well. You have a lot of like open source threat intelligence tools like the MISP. You have OpenCTI, a lot of them. And now I see TryHackMe also. TryHackMe has a branch, a CTI branch of like practical exercises on CTI. It's open. Like, try to do that. If you are a beginner, try to learn that. And if you're an intermediate person, maybe you want to invest into like certifications. Yeah, true. You can go for certifications. You have EC Council. EC Council International has a CTIA course, and then you also have I think the SANS.
Yeah, the CTI certification.
578 if I'm not mistaken. If I'm right, yes, I'm still right. So you have that, and I think the SANS sec as well. Also, there's one version of sec that also gives you some type of continuous monitoring courses. You can use that, and then also as an intermediate person, practically use the MISP, build that like CTI pipelines to get IOCs from sticks, taxi servers in MISP. Send it through rules, Yara rules, or whatever it is, to security devices, and see how it works. Practically exercise on them. So that's kind of how you get your hands on dirty on CTI. And for expert, I'm sure there are a lot of experts there. I don't know. I don't have much much to say in there, because if you're an expert level, maybe you want to explore other uncommon CTI practices and channels, and invest more on research and things like that. And I think I'm not really somebody who talks a lot about these things, because I like doing it, because I always had the impression that people who talk about things the most are the people who actually don't know it the most. People who actually know the things, they talk less about it, they do it more.
They're doing it.
Yeah, so I spend more time on doing, and because I'm also preparing 2 other books that will come out, very practical, still in the cybersecurity arena, very very practical, because that's what I like. When you research things, you have to put it out there and see what the best of the best are thinking about your work. And I'm always in for constructive criticism. So for experts, it's better to explore other way, invest in more research. And yeah, I think that's what I think.
That's awesome. No, I appreciate the insights. And any like closing thoughts for the listeners?
Well, closing thoughts. First of all, I'll say thank you, Pedro, for this opportunity, and
Thank you.
it has been a good discussion. I like unorthodox ways. Yes. So I like more orthodox way like this, where we discuss openly, not just a structured like, oh, let's talk about this, let's talk about that, prepare about this. But we talk about it. I give you the experience as I know it, and that's how also I benchmark the knowledge that I've received, which is very good. But on a closing note, I'll say that CTI is becoming very critical into cyber defense, not just because of its capability to give us a lot of information, even because of the fact that we are now sharing information with each other, with the community, which is very, very important. So I think most companies and most organizations are investing into CTI, and which is a good thing. It's not a product. There's no product. There's no product called CTI. If somebody comes, they say they're selling a CTI product, that's wrong. CTI it's a process, it's a journey, it's something that start and continue, because you have to continuously invest into that. As you get the result of your CTI, or you get the outcome, you feed it back to your requirement and come back. We haven't touched into, like, I didn't want to go into much theory about the life cycle and stuff like that. Maybe we'll have a chance to talk about those, or the pyramid of pain, because you touched a very important point in terms of narrowing down the pyramid. Maybe in the future talk about that. But it's a journey. That's how we have to consider it. So to the audience, and it's a very important field. Whoever want to jump into in the future, there will be a big need for threat intelligence people. So yeah.
That's awesome. I'm biased. I also think that we're only at the beginning of this bigger industry journey to recognize more and more the value that CTI can bring to the overall cyber defenses. I could not agree more with you. Jean, thank you so very much for all the insights on the show. I really appreciate you having you here, and I hope I'll see you around. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pedro.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in. If you found this episode valuable, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Got thoughts or questions? Connect with us on our LinkedIn group, Cyber Threat Intelligence Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. If you know anyone with CTI expertise that would like to be interviewed in the show, just let us know. Until next time, stay sharp and stay secure.